The restaurant gleamed with opulence, its marble floors reflecting the soft glow of crystal chandeliers. Ornate gold accents lined the walls, and plush velvet chairs surrounded mahogany tables, adorned with pristine white linens and flickering candles. The air was rich with the aroma of gourmet dishes, from freshly seared scallops to decadent chocolate soufflés, as a symphony of laughter, clinking glasses, and hushed conversations filled the space. Waiters in crisp uniforms glided between tables, balancing silver trays laden with culinary masterpieces, their movements swift and precise. Amidst the glamour and bustle stood Claire, a young waitress with sharp features and a determined expression. Her uniform was immaculate, her hair neatly pinned back, though a strand occasionally escaped, hinting at the intensity of her shift. Claire moved with practiced efficiency, expertly balancing trays while mentally juggling orders and keeping an eye on the temperamental chef in the open kitchen. For Claire, the elegance of the restaurant was a stark contrast to her chaotic, demanding role. The gilded doors swung open, and in stepped an elderly man. His plaid shirt, faded jeans, and gentle smile contrasted sharply with the extravagant surroundings. He paused to take in the scene, his blue eyes sparkling with quiet amusement. To Claire, he seemed out of place, a diner more suited for a humble cafe than this refined establishment. "Excuse me, miss," he said, his tone polite but hesitant. Claire spun around, balancing a tray. Her gaze quickly assessed him, and her impatience flared. "The diner down the street might be more your style," she quipped, her voice brisk. The man chuckled softly, unperturbed. "I was hoping to grab a table here," he said warmly. Claire scoffed. "Do you know how expensive this place is?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. Claire's gaze swept over the elderly man as he stood in the entryway of the luxurious restaurant. He was out of place, she thought, with his plaid shirt, faded jeans, and a demeanor that suggested he had wandered in by mistake. The setting demanded sophistication suits, silk dresses, and quiet elegance. Claire, balancing a tray laden with champagne flutes, barely gave him a second glance before turning her attention back to her demanding patrons. "Excuse me, miss," the man said, his voice kind but tentative. Claire paused, casting him a glance that held more impatience than curiosity. "Can I help you?" she asked curtly, though her tone implied she had no intention of doing so. "I was wondering if I could grab a table," he replied, his warm smile not faltering. She raised an eyebrow, her expression bordering on disbelief. "This restaurant might not be what you are looking for," she said, her voice laced with polite dismissal. "The diner down the street might be more your style." The man chuckled softly, unfazed by her response. "I think I'll be just fine here," he said, a glint of humor in his eyes. Claire's patience wore thin. "Do you even know how much a meal costs here?" she asked, her tone sharp as she motioned to the room filled with wealthy patrons. "I have an idea," he said casually, his grin widening. Hours later, Claire's world tilted on its axis when the restaurant manager excitedly announced the arrival of Dick Van Dyke. Stunned, Claire turned to see the same unassuming man, now surrounded by staff and customers clamoring for his attention. "That's the owner," someone whispered, and Claire felt the color drain from her face. She had dismissed a Hollywood legend and the man who owned the very restaurant she worked in. As the evening unfolded in the restaurant, Claire busied herself, deftly balancing trays of fine wine and exquisite dishes. The buzz of conversation and clinking silverware filled the air, but Claire remained focused, determined to keep pace with the demands of the evening. She had all but forgotten about the elderly man she'd dismissed earlier, assuming he'd wandered off after her firm yet polite suggestion. It wasn't until her manager, Daniel, approached her with an air of urgency that the pieces began to fall into place. "Claire, did you see him? He's here." Daniel's excitement was palpable, his eyes practically sparkling. "See who?" she asked, brushing off her hands and barely masking her annoyance. "Dick Van Dyke!" Daniel exclaimed, barely containing his grin. "The legend himself. And Claire, he's the owner of this place." Her stomach sank. "Wait, what?" she stammered, her thoughts racing. Daniel pointed subtly toward the corner of the restaurant, where the elderly man now sat, surrounded by delighted patrons and adoring staff. Claire's heart dropped as recognition hit her like a freight train. It was the same man she had dismissed so casually, Dick Van Dyke, Hollywood icon, and the very owner of the restaurant she worked in. "He's so humble," Daniel continued, oblivious to Claire's growing dread. After her manager revealed Dick Van Dyke's identity, Claire hesitated before approaching him, her heart pounding with nerves. She found him seated at a modest corner table, sipping tea with a gentle smile. Taking a deep breath, she mustered the courage to apologize. "I am so sorry for how I treated you earlier," she began, her voice shaky but sincere. "I made assumptions I had no right to make." Dick looked up, his expression warm and forgiving. "We all make mistakes, Claire," he said kindly. "What matters is what we learn from them." Their conversation unfolded, rich with wisdom and empathy. Dick spoke of his belief in kindness, his commitment to creating a welcoming environment, and the importance of seeing beyond appearances. "Assumptions are easy," he said, "but understanding takes effort, and understanding can change lives." Before Claire could leave, Dick extended an unexpected invitation. "Come to a community gathering I'm hosting tomorrow," he said. "It's a chance to see what kindness in action looks like." Curious and humbled, Claire agreed. The next evening, Claire found herself in a vibrant community hall, filled with people from all walks of life. Dick moved effortlessly through the crowd, sharing stories and laughter, ensuring everyone felt seen and valued. She was struck by his humility and generosity, how he used his platform not for accolades, but to bring people together and give back. Inspired, Claire began reflecting on her own actions. She realized the power of kindness to transform not just her outlook, but her entire approach to life. Back at the restaurant, her newfound humility shone through. Colleagues noticed her shift. She listened more, assumed less, and worked to uplift everyone around her. Dick's example had planted a seed of compassion that now flourished in every corner of her life.